Hey guys, it's Madison, and so I've had a lot of people ask me recently, I guess, what's my story? How did I end up where I am today? How did I know I was trans? What was my, I guess, like transgender childhood like, if you can call it that? But people just really curious in, I guess, my backstory, and I've mentioned it a little bit, but I kind of want to talk to you guys a little bit more about it. It's pretty personal, so I haven't really gone into too much detail, but it all starts with where I'm at right now. So at this exact moment, I'm at my mom's house, and in this room, this is the room that I grew up in when I was a child. And obviously some things are changed ever since I moved out a long time ago. You know, some things are missing from the walls, but a lot of things are still there. Have some movie posters, have some country music, like pictures and autographs on the wall. But yeah, this is the room that I grew up in. I'm sitting on the bed where I slept every night. I sat right here when I learned to play guitar, and this is where I lived. Now, there's a reason that I'm shooting this video in my old bedroom, and I'll get to that here in a second. But I guess my first earliest memories of when I realized that something wasn't right, I was probably around the age of 10, maybe 11, something like that, right before puberty. And I don't know, maybe I had like these tendencies or feelings beforehand. I just don't remember a lot of them. I do remember a few things though, you know. For Christmas, my mom would always buy me, you know, like action figures and toys and things like that. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed things like that. You know, I was a big Power Rangers fan and those sorts of things. But a lot of my time I actually spent right across the hallway. See that door right there? That was the door to my sister's room. And as much as I liked playing with like my action figures and things, I would always find myself over there playing with her Barbies and things like that because I liked her toys. She liked Polly Pockets, Barbies, and I used to have so much fun playing with those things with her. And those are some of my earliest memories, I suppose. But really right around the age of 10 or 11 is when I noticed that something wasn't right about me. My sister's 5 years older than me, and so she would have been 15, 16, somewhere in there. And I had this really vivid memory where she was getting ready for some kind of school dance, like a prom or something like that. I'm not sure what it was. But my grandmother came over and she helped my sister get ready, and you know, they went all out. Like, she got her eyebrows done, she went and got her nails done. She had this beautiful dress, I remember. And I remember thinking to myself when I was that age that it wasn't fair because I wanted to do those things too, but I wasn't sure how to tell anybody. And so I didn't. You know, I kept it to myself. But I do remember probably a few weeks later, I was home by myself, like after school or something. I don't remember exactly. And no one else was here. And I snuck across the hallway into my sister's room, and I tried on that dress. You know, I used to do that all the time. I used to sneak into her room and try on her clothes and stuff like that, because that's who I was, and I knew that from an early age, but I didn't have the guts to tell anybody about it. And, you know, me trying on her clothes, it was a habit that persisted all the way until she moved out, really. When she was older. She was like 22 when she moved out, so I would have been like 17, something around that age. Me and my sister were about the same size, so it worked out well. But you know, as time progressed, like through early teenage years and stuff like that, as puberty set in, I felt the pressure to be somebody who I wasn't and to conform to being a boy. And I used to do things for dumb reasons that, you know, things that I didn't even care about or like, just to help like give that image, to like overcompensate, I guess you might say. And that's the reason I'm in here, is because I want to show you guys, like up on the ceiling, there's like framed pictures of like sports cars, like all around my room. And I did that, you know, I don't even like cars, I've never cared for cars, but I did it because boys were supposed to like cars, and, you know, I was supposed to be a boy. So, I did things like that to, I guess for like image sake, I don't know, just so nobody would raise suspicion, I suppose. I really don't know what the real reason is for why I did things like that, but I did. I used to get picked on a lot in school because, and even made fun of like by my sister and like sometimes my own family because I didn't like doing things that boys like to do. I didn't like to play sports. I didn't like doing those things. I was a very scrawny kid, very skinny, and kind of wimpy, I suppose you might say. And so I was always kind of picked on and made fun of for those things. But I was just different. I couldn't relate to things that the boys my age were relating to. And sometimes I would kind of play along and pretend, but at the end of the day, I just really couldn't relate or understand. The vast majority of the friends that I've had in my life have all been girls. I've only had like one, I think, friend who was a boy. And that was just because I could relate to the girls better. Like, we got along better. I liked talking about the same things that they like talking about, and I don't know, I just always got along better with girls than I did boys. But, I kept presenting this image that I was somebody who I wasn't. And looking back, it's something that I really regret. Like, I don't know why I did that. There was no reason to. And I beat myself up about it all the time because if I could go back in time and do things differently, would I do things differently? The older I got, once I turned 16 and I was able to drive and I could go places on my own without like arising suspicion from my mom and my family, I would do things like, I would buy makeup and nail polish and stuff from the store, and actually I would keep them all hidden in that nightstand, like right there. And I think actually if you open it up, there's probably still some old nail polish and stuff in there that I had tried to keep hidden. I pierced my belly button. Well, I didn't do it, but I had it done when I was, I don't know, like 18 or 19, I guess. I convinced my friend that I'd wanted to do it. It was actually Sarah. If you haven't seen the video I did with Sarah, I'll link to it up above, and you guys can kind of see what my best friend Sarah is like. And she went with me, and we pierced our belly buttons. And but things like that I could keep hidden. Like I could keep my toes painted and just wear socks, and nobody really caught on. But I did whatever I could to try and feel more like myself, but still put up that front that I had been creating almost my entire life. And then, I got older and I moved out, and once I had my own place, I could kind of dress freely at my house and play with makeup and nail polish and all sorts of fun things that I enjoy, certainly without arising suspicion from anyone. And I did. But the real turning point for me was last year in 2016. In August, my stepdad passed away. He was young. He wasn't old. He was in pretty good health, but he went to bed one night, and he never woke back up the next morning. And so, I live in a different city just right outside of the one my mom does. And every morning I would bring Sophie and load her up in the car, and I would bring her to my mom's house so that I could come home and see her during lunch, and she wouldn't have to be by herself. And I remember very vaguely that morning, I turned on the street where my mom lives, I had Sophie in the back seat, and there were just police cars and ambulances all up and down the street. And I thought, oh wow, something happened to somebody, that's terrible. And I went down to the end of the block, and I made a U-turn and came back. And that's when I saw all the police officers standing in front of my mom's house. And that's when it hit me that something didn't just happen to somebody, something happened to one of my somebodies. And I got out of the car, walked up to the door. They asked me my name, and I told them. And I said, what happened? And they said, well, your stepdad passed away last night. And after talking to the police officers for a while, I went back inside the house. I saw my mom sitting on the couch, and I grabbed her and I hugged her, and we sat there. And we waited while the coroner showed up to get the body. And, I just remember having this feeling of emptiness and shock. And we got to the funeral and everything, and then a few weeks after that, it really hit me that, you know, life is only temporary, and it can be over so fast and so unexpectedly. And I don't want to ever have that happen to me, or even worse, live to be an old age, you know, like 80 or 90, and look back on the life that I lived and realize that I was unhappy, and that I lived a life of regret, and that I, you know, disappointed that I never took the chance to be myself and to be who I'm supposed to be in this world. And so that was the moment that capped everything off for me, and I pretty much immediately decided to start pursuing a transition, and I did. I started hormones in October, just a couple months after that. And the reason I tell you guys this stuff, it's really personal to me, but the reason I want to tell you is because I want you to realize that if this is something that you're struggling with, you know, should I transition, should I not, you know, or you're afraid of like what your family's going to think. I had all those exact same fears, but I just eventually reached a point to where my desire and my unhappiness outweighed those fears. And you'll get there eventually too. But I want to encourage you to take that chance and to take that leap and do it sooner, because I wished I had. And, you know, it's not worth putting off your own happiness for. Don't put up a front and be somebody you're not. Being your true self in this world and letting people actually see you for who you really are, I think is one of the greatest gifts that you can give anybody, you know, whether it's a family member, a friend, or somebody that you haven't met yet. But being authentic and living a true life, I think, is a beautiful thing, and it's an amazing gift. And I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes that I did and not do what you're meant to do. So I would encourage you to, you know, really give that some thought if this is something that you're struggling with, you know. As I sit here telling you guys all this stuff in a video, sitting in my childhood bedroom that is still looks very much like a boy's room. And don't make the same mistakes I did. And you know, actually, if you want to learn more about my coming out story and kind of more about me in general, hit the subscribe button, and you know, you'll get all my video updates, and you'll be able to keep up with what's going on with me and my transition. Some backstory. I've got lots of videos made about how I arrived here in different parts of my life and things like that. So feel free to check those out if you're interested. And also leave me something, you know, like some lines or a message in the comment section. I'm curious to know if you guys are struggling with this too, and if these are like more kinds of videos that you would like to see. But until next time, you guys, be kind and make good choices.